Welcome, welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, whoever may be listening beyond the omniverse tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, November 19th, Monday, November 20th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, Tessa TNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. If you guys are listening live right now, you may be listening to us on Spreaker.com. You may also find us live on eTalk Radio, which you can find at etalk.tv/radio, as well as KPNL Radio, which you can find at KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, just tune in to wherever you listen to your podcasts, and you should be able to listen to us from there. If you like to watch and would like to see who is speaking to you, you can check us out on Facebook under We Are Paradox Media, YouTube as well. On YouTube, please subscribe. Mosey on over and like any of the videos that you've watched or listened to, and please leave us any comments, whether good or bad, and any questions you might have for the guest as well. We're also on Twitch under We Are Paradox Media 101. You can watch there as well. So tonight, I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight, we will be talking to Mr. Troy Bacon, and he's going to be teaching us how to tune in to learn energy protection techniques that you can use at home, in your car, or on the go. Anywhere that will help you keep your aura safe. Whether you are concerned about dark spirits, the poor spiritual hygiene of others, or even narcissists at work, the techniques described will allow you to keep your aura clear with a snap of your fingers or a couple taps of your high heels. Troy J. Bacon is a Starseed Walk-In and as a holistic practitioner who helps others to live a more fulfilled life by guiding them to find their soul's purpose. His primary modalities are hypnosis and Reiki, and in his sessions, he helps his clients clean up and heal their blockages, scars, traumas, fears, phobias, and bad habits from their root in your subconscious mind, and shows you how to create lasting healings that start at the soul level. In his practice at New Being, he helps his clients break through tough blocks that affect their financial lives, social lives, confidence in their spiritual abilities and self-worth, heal and integrate alternate personalities, find the motivation to clean up their messy living space or anything else they lack motivation to achieve. His healing sessions have come with the disclaimer that you are highly likely to experience positive transformations in yourself and life that are more in alignment with your personal best self and soul's purpose. If you wish, the outcome of continued healing sessions will bring you to a state of alchemical transformation from which you will be able to fully realize your soul's purpose from the vantage point of your true self. So I'm going to bring him on camera here in just a second, but before I do that, I'm going to go over here to audio and turn off the stereo. That way we can hear him without an echo. Alrighty. Oh. Hey Troy, how's it going?
All good, Tessa. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. I just want to clarify that my business is called New Being Hypnosis, and my website is newbeinghypnosis.com for anyone who wishes to find me and contact me. I think I probably forgot to type that in that description. So, yeah, I'm a Starseed and a walk-in. Done a lot of integrating over the last 3 years now. Just celebrated my third walk-in birthday. And so a lot of that integration and healing, and there's still more to explore, so many hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. But I bring in a lot of healing already, and become aware of really multi-level with the complete energy body knowledge of energy body mechanics from the Kabbalah system and other such mechanics and truth that I know from other lifetimes, and use that paired with working with spirit guides, spirit animals, um, angels, ancestors, dragons, fairies, ETs, any other spirit entities who wish to participate, kind of in a multi-level quantum healing practice. And I am refining sort of a program to offer. Probably be 3 or 4 sessions at least, with the discovery session to start off with. Only $44.99 for a discovery session, and that can be with Reiki or hypnosis. And then there's like a 3-step process that I was downloaded from Spirit, with an energy portal that comes in, I believe, from Sirius that I bring in this lifetime. So let's get into energy protection talk.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but this last week has been super crazy as far as dreams, and most of them have been dark. So I'm ready to listen to what you're saying. Like I told you, I did 2 days of fasting and then a 5-day online cleanse, like not doing anything on Facebook or anywhere like that. So that really felt like it helped, especially after the 2-day fast. I don't know, I had a bunch of revelations and things that I learned to do better and so on and so forth. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you're looking better, Tessa, and it's good. Fasting is always a good reset for the body. Where to start? So I want to start by giving a short explanation of my understanding of the human energy body, basically, and kind of how it works with the quantum ocean that we live in, as I understand it. I call it the quantum ocean. So a lot of listeners may have heard of the human aura. That knowledge has been around for a long time. A lot of books about the human aura. Tess, are you still there?
Yeah.
Your screen disappeared. Okay. Anyway, so the human aura, from what I understand, is typically like an egg shape, or people see it as an egg shape, just like a big egg of energy around the human. But even around that, there's a bigger energy field called the Merkaba, which looks a lot like a toroid. And it literally, the Earth has a toroidal magnetic field around it. So basically, we're using that energy field or that's around us, and we use that for energy protection. That's just how we protect our energy. But if you don't do anything to strengthen or protect your energy, and if it gets wounded or weakened, or you already are, sometimes it's your energy is partly inherited from your ancestors and their energy, their weaknesses and blockages and patterns, as well as your energy is shaped by your soul and patterns and blockages and stuff that you bring in karmically, and for other reasons, stuff you also pick up through your life, trauma, and other things you're taught. So if you don't work with your aura and energy on a daily basis, then it's prone to get weak, there are many factors that play into the strength of a person's energy. The number one thing is breath, your breathing and breathing practices. If you're not breathing deeply, you're not really living, and your energy is probably weak. Um, Laughter helps strengthen the energy. There are 6 major factors that help strengthen the energy. So breath is one. Water is another important one. You want to make sure that the water you're drinking is preferably pure, filtered, and fluoride-free, clean of bacteria and contaminants, of course. Also, you can work with your water energetically. If you know how to work with energy, then you can send energy into it, perhaps in a glass, or you can also speak to water. Masaru Emoto proved that by speaking to water and giving it messages, then it changes how it freezes in its crystalline structure, because water has memory. Because our bodies are mostly water, then the water you drink shapes your energy too. Then another important factor is food. You want to be careful of the food you eat, how it's processed, how it's grown or raised. Also, if there are chemicals in it at all, or what chemicals it may have been exposed to. And you also want to be aware of your beliefs of your food too. That's kind of a deeper topic, but how you believe your food nourishes you and what types of food nourish you or what types of food hurt you. Your belief structure, how that food behaves in your body after it enters you, even if you bless it. Another factor that shapes a person's energy and can help strengthen it or weaken it is the people you hang out with, the company you keep, and the family you live with, the people you live with, what they are saying out loud all the time, the kinds of music they listen to, as well as the music you listen to, the beliefs you share, if you share food or if you do things together with other people, if you're friends or friendly with the people you live with and hang out with. So that's important. So you want to make sure that as much as possible, a lot of the things you're doing, believing, and consuming are of a positive nature. By the way, Tessa, I'm still hearing a bit of an echo in my voice. Do you hear that?
Here, let me mute myself.
Okay. I think that's better. I think that was it. It was an echo from your feedback. So, yeah, those are some key factors of energy: breath, water, food, the company you keep. Another big one is really the thoughts you think and the messages you speak, things you speak. If you're speaking negatively about yourself and others, then that energy not only moves through you but affects you. So you don't want to be just constantly wishing ill of other people and judging and cursing toward other people, because that doesn't help you. That weakens you and essentially destroys your energy. Doesn't allow it to be strong and healthy. You want to speak kindly to yourself. Your body, cells, nervous system, the physics of your body is constantly listening to you. Our bodies hardly, our genetics have codes and they have information, some which cannot be changed, some can be changed. But our bodies are partly not who we are, and they're not destined to have to be the way doctors say that they appear to be or say they are. Our bodies are partly shaped and affected by our words and energy and beliefs, how we speak to them. Our bodies are constantly listening to us. So you always want to speak kindly of your body. Say that you're beautiful. Say that you're sexy and love yourself. Um, even if it's in the mirror at first when you're alone or at all when you're alone. And not put yourself down, not say that you're ugly or unattractive or be hard on yourself, because that affects your energy and spiritual energy. The stuff in your body is the same as and connected to your spiritual and metaphysical energy. So a little bit about energy protection. That's some ways we can get weakened or strengthened by negative energies. There are so many things that can influence our energy, as well as many beings in the spirit world, for example, who who want to and can affect our energy, especially the lower astral, darker, lower vibrational beings, do find you, and they do attach to people. Some demons possess people if you open up and allow that, or resonate with that, such as when a child is given or buys a Ouija board from Hasbro and just opens it up and asks who's there, and a demon comes through. They're giving permission and literally asking for the demon to be there and affect them and channel through them, possess them, cause havoc in their life. You're giving permission with what you do and how you approach things. If you're not careful, this is what is taught in Reiki practice as well, Kyo Usui Reiki, the original lineage. I learned from a master who's descended from the original Mikao Usui lineage, but you want to cast your invocation and protection before you do energy work and healing work too, for the reason that there can be and are all kinds of beings who can and will take advantage of you if you allow it. And so this is why you always want to be careful with the people you hang out with, because some of them may have entity attachments, especially if they're like hanging out in shady places with shady people, if you are too. Drug abuse is one thing that also attracts negative entities, and literally there are ecosystems that negative entities feed off of and live off of, from the many people who are addicted to drugs, whether they're homeless or even not, or abuse drugs in their home, or wherever, however they do it. If they're abusing drugs like cocaine or acid or LSD or other harmful things, some drugs can be used consciously. I don't necessarily practice or advocate for that, but when someone's just consuming a drug for abuse or to get high or feel good, or even to disassociate and tap out, especially when they're disassociating and tapping out, that is giving the permission and opening the door for a negative entity to pop in, to walk in through their front door and do what they want. And there's a whole ecosystem of these lower astral beings who actually feed off of drug addicts, especially homeless drug addicts, but any drug addicts, I believe, because they feed off of that negative self depreciating, I think is the right word, self abusing, self neglecting, self harming, uncaring energy of basically becoming unconscious and leaving your body because you don't know what else to do. And there are other methods of healing, therapy, and there are even a lot of self-help books and all kinds of resources if you really want to heal, even free ones. But it's about motivation. But anyway, when in the example of drug abuse or alcohol abuse too, I think that's a different type of food for a specific type of lower astral spirit. It kind of depends on your attitude toward how you use the drug or alcohol. But yeah, you've got to be careful with how you approach things, your attitude, and how you do things, how you volunteer for things does change things. Just like how during stage hypnosis shows, when a hypnotist on stage asks for a volunteer from the audience and they walk up, that person they don't even have to say it vocally, but they're already giving their permission to be hypnotized and to do things that they wouldn't normally do because they've already given their permission by raising their hand and stepping on stage. So there are some examples of how you can give away and weaken your energy. I want to get into some more of the positive fun, though, in the last half hour that we have here, and talk about some more of the positive energy strengthening and protecting techniques. And so it's one thing to practice positivity, practice gratitude, speaking kindly to yourself and others, and even random acts of kindness, perhaps, and other things to, and even artistry, or creative writing or singing or dancing or anything that channels positive energy. That's one thing to practice your positive energy. I think even doing that and being in the flow, following your truth, your soul's calling, and what really feels enlivening and something that you're really passionate about, just by strengthening that can help greatly in keeping away negative spirits. But if you are also doing a little bit of artistry, maybe in a group or by yourself or however, or even anything else, even meditation or energy healing, if you do that a little bit and that helps, that's good. But it could be doing more harm than good also if you're combining that or alternating that with cycles or times of also getting into lower energies, throwing your self-esteem out the window, like I said, drugs and alcohol, or there's all kinds of things you can do to ruin yourself, hanging out with the wrong people, or even getting into bad business, then that, even a little bit of the negative can bring in the wrong beings if you're not careful. So energy you send out, the energies within us do get sent out as essentially radio signals, and the universe and the spirits around us hear that and pick it up and are drawn to us. And so you want to really be careful of practicing positive lifestyles, positive craft, and positive artistry, helping others, refining yourself, and keeping your living space clean. And so one tip too that I want to share, for example, if you're out, you go out in public, especially for empaths and sensitive people, or I'll say that I actually learned this trick. It's a quick and easy energy protection technique. I learned it, really taught it to myself, but I started doing it when I was doing some caregiving work part-time, and I would have caregiving clients in my car. But unfortunately, many of them have allowed their energy and their condition, sometimes not on their will or awareness or control, but they need help. And so um, after them spending a lot of time in my car, for example, and then when they would leave, get out of my car, and get back into my car, whatever, and I was there, I'd feel their energies in my car, because that's kind of how energy works. It's a lot like kind of like gases, atmospheric pressure. If you don't release it, if you don't change it, or it's kind of like it leaves a lingering presence. But as a Reiki practitioner, what I learned to do is close my eyes. Everyone can do this, especially if you're sitting still, not driving, of course, but sitting still in a safe place. You can close your eyes. Just take a very slow, very full, deep breath in, filling your lungs and abdomen all the way. Feeling all of your mind and body and spirit, and feeling your heart. It may help, especially for beginners, to think of a happy moment or conjure up the feeling of just being happy and feeling warm and pleasant. And then tune into energy above your head. There's a lot of spiritual energy above us. And tune into what you feel or what you could perceive and connect with as heaven, universal energy, and put your thumb and middle finger together and snap. And when you snap, you bring in that energy just like that, so quickly that you imagine that universal positive energy from heaven and your energy expands a lot like light, or filling, for example, your car, if that's where you are, or a small room, if that's where you are, or wherever you are too. This could be outside too, if you spend a little bit of time with someone, or if you're exposed to someone in public, or knowingly, who doesn't practice spiritual hygiene and has entity attachments, and you feel that, then you can just do this to quickly, easily, and effectively cast positive energy around yourself and your aura. And it's as quick as that. And then just take another deep breath in and notice the feeling of the energy around you being lighter and brighter and more easy. So that's one technique that I use, especially it's kind of a quick and easy one. A little bit more people who may be newer to this, if you want to practice. By the way, when you're starting out practicing, this goes for any practice, but especially with your energy, moving it and purifying it and protecting it, casting protection, you want to do it, I would recommend whatever practice it is, for 40 days consecutively. You can just, first of all, start by closing your eyes. This could be a short or a longer meditation at home. You could play some positive or relaxing music if you wish, but tune into your breath. Slow, deep breathing is a very effective vehicle to bring your attention back into your body in the present moment instead of outside of you and your worries of what you need to do. Bring your attention back into your body, energy, and present moment. And start by getting grounded. Grounding is important in anything that you're doing. Feeling your feet, knowing that there are chakras in your feet, one in each center of your feet, and those connect directly to the earth. Imagine that you can just extend your energy down through your feet, down to the earth. Connect your energy body to the earth, the core of the earth. Feel the bright, intense, nurturing love of our Mother Earth. And feel the energy in your lower abdomen, grounded and warm. Feel your solar plexus. Tune into that. Imagine that being like a golden star. And feel your heart center, warm and loving and comfortable. Breathing into each of these centers, and imagine this grounded and enhanced energy cord or column going all the way up to your crown, and then even higher to the top of your aura, and even further out to the top of your Merkaba. Above your head, too, is a basketball-sized sphere that I know is the Soul Star chakra, and that is a helpful way to connect your grounded energy with spirit and then cast protection. And so that's one way. You could learn any other type of meditation too, or yoga practice, or there are literally hundreds of meditation practices that could help just to get started. Whatever you do, if you're a beginner at energy protection, I recommend practicing whichever meditation or Reiki, if you learn that. Anything that you do that feels right to you for your spiritual energy for 40 days and 40 nights consecutively. And that will, first of all, that just helps set in the neurological synapses in your brain to keep up that practice and connect with your energy. But that also helps strengthen your energy at the same time, your spiritual energy. Tessa, at this point, do you have any questions maybe about your life, how this could apply?
No, not really. I was just noticing while doing that, like, when I first started with the first exercise you were taking us through, with my eyes closed, I could see, like, um, the aura, but up here it was like open and dark. And then there was red around it. And then it started to shrink to get smaller and smaller. And then during the second exercise, like doing it, then the color of the ring that was red had actually turned blue. And then I couldn't really see it anymore. So I felt a lot like, just doing that, small of a thing actually seemed to help a little bit, I think, to close whatever was going on up there. Yeah, it was just interesting to see the different colors. And then with the planting of the feet or, connecting to Mother Earth or whatnot, you could see, or I could see, like green with like, I don't know if it's roots or what, but, going down into the green. And then it would just get greener and greener. But yeah, that was pretty interesting.
That's great to hear. Yeah. By the way, roots are a good thing to visualize, like a tree, roots growing down from your feet into the earth, feeling the earth that way. Even if you live in an apartment building or even a skyscraper apartment building, perhaps you can still connect with the earth at any time. The energy of the earth, it doesn't matter if there are other people living below you or multiple floors of artificial construction, even with who knows, boiler rooms and all kinds of pipes and stuff constructed below you and within the earth. We live in a quantum magnetic field around this planet, and we always are connected and um, affected by it. But when we choose to, we can tune in that way and send our energy connected to the core of the earth. And then that just helps ground our energy. A little bit that I want to share that I figured out too. Some other spiritual friends have confirmed this too. I think I just learned this on my own though. I don't recall being taught it, but the human energy body is literally a type of electrical circuit that I believe was either, it's probably designed, I believe, intelligent design. Um, but basically, it's a circuit that channels energy, yin or feminine or negative polarity energy from the earth, um, the mother, and that grounds us. That's been scientifically proven too, but channels energy from the earth, information from the earth too, up, then out our crown chakra, even if you haven't developed it. It's just how it works. And humans naturally do this, especially when we're barefoot outside. That's ideal if you can do that whenever it's warm or where, as much as you can. But yeah, we literally channel energy from the earth through our crown chakra out to our sun and even to other stars in space, as well as through our crown chakra. We naturally receive energy from other stars in the cosmos and our sun, and then that gets circulated back down into our earth. And so it's a positive and negative circuit, and we are the ground of it, the grounding cord. So that's also helpful for grounding energy. If you're feeling ungrounded, if you're feeling flighty, mental fog, unfocused, or just not feeling well, maybe your stomach is upset a little bit without any obvious cause, or maybe you're feeling a little bit of pain too. It's been proven that earthing, just barefoot, bare skin contact with the earth, especially when it's prolonged, day after day, let's say for a month. I'd say 40 days at a time too, though. That has been proven to alleviate pain, physical pain in the nervous system. So that can be good for all things. Clearing your mind too, just going for a walk. Even I'm sensitive to cold. My nervous system is just so sensitive naturally. I can't be barefoot outside for very long without shoes. So, but even though I need to wear shoes, there are also some earthing shoes too out there that are pretty cool. Various kinds. But even though I do that, I still go for walks. That's just how my energy works, to get moving and get thoughts moving. And so that's something I would recommend to strengthen your energy, to ground to the earth. That's really an infinite and free source of grounding and healing for us. A little bit more about spiritual protection and energy protection of our aura. As like you said, Tessa, this was a great example that when we're doing that exercise and you tuned into some red energy, which I sounds like was maybe unpleasant or unwelcome above you, then it became blue and went away. That sounds a lot to me like because you were really taking a little bit of time to consciously tune in to spiritual and healing energy, then that did very quickly strengthen your energy, because when we do that, even could take seconds or less, when we tune in with our will, nothing is stronger than the human will, then that is enough to push away, to ward off unwanted spirits when we use our light, and bring our light of our soul into our energy and their bodies. Just the same though, I'll reiterate in a way that it's just as easy to invite negative energy into our lives. And these techniques are helpful. What I've found though throughout my life, my years, for the past 15 years, I've been on a spiritual journey in life, learning about this stuff. If you're living with perhaps family or people who are more of a negative influence, dramatic, maybe someone who abuses drugs or alcohol in a not so nice way, anyone who's abusive, or people who are kind of sketchy, or just people who are also just not so nice to be around, even if they mean to be nice people. I know that I've had some family and such. I just can't sit next to them for very long. It's just like an energy vampire or something, even if they don't mean to be. If you live with someone like that, especially if they're more like consciously disruptive, yelling and cursing, abusing, negative, insulting thinking, or just all kinds of negative thinking, you name it, I could go on and on. But if you're living with people who are disruptive to your energy, and especially who don't have boundaries, don't respect your boundaries when you set them, these energy protection tips and tricks can help, especially when you practice and practice and practice. But I would still recommend to treat your energy, your mind, body, spirit, and all of you, all the complex that you are, as so sacred that you cannot and will not tolerate abuse and someone not respecting your boundaries that you clearly set, or also damaging your energy if they're trying to, or even inadvertently. But do that, respect yourself and love yourself so much that eventually you might move out or find your own space. Even if you're in an apartment building, this is important. So many people live in apartments. It's very likely that if you're in an apartment building, one of your neighbors, probably more, are not practicing good spiritual hygiene. And it's very likely that there may be either entities or just residual energies from them coming through your walls that could affect you if you're not careful. And so this is what I learned living in an apartment, especially an older apartment with lots of ghosts on the property, is you really need to own your space. And that doesn't mean what's written on paper. That means practicing these practices of grounding, casting protection around your aura, and then for owning your living space, energetically, you want to imagine light, maybe just a sphere or a capsule of light around your apartment space, home, the walls you live within, and do that over and over. That can be your practice. If you want to do that at first, and just imagine that your light and your aura extends to the walls, and the walls become an impenetrable barrier of light energy, similar to that scene in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, where all the Hogwarts wizards, or especially the older ones, are casting their magic, their light out to create this big bubble around Hogwarts, even though the dark ones then are able to penetrate it. But it's kind of that idea. You want to cast a field of energy, but truly our energy is impenetrable when we use our will to do so. Nothing can really overcome your will. And yeah, do that. And I found that that helps stop things from moving within your home. That helps filter the spirits who can come into your space, especially when you name it within love, truth, and benevolence. So yeah, you want to own your own space, own your aura, cast your invocations and protections, and yeah, all of that before you actually allow spirits to come into your life, and before you open yourself up to just anything, because remember that there are always tricksters, there are demons out there, there are even some ghosts and not so nice souls who passed away on this earth who may want to do something with you or to you, or who knows. The spirit world is just as complex and really just as complex as our human world, and we need to be a bit vigilant to be safe and to protect ourselves.
So when you were talking about living in an apartment complex or whatnot and creating like that bubble, that kind of reminded me of what my mentor taught me years ago was, just taking your hands and imagining a ball of light and having it grow and grow and grow until it envelops you or even your space. And that was like I believe, a form of protection. Um, Perhaps it could even be considered like your aura. I don't know. But to me, it was sort of like a protection barrier against negative, beings or whatnot when you're going into a place to cleanse or do whatever else you need to do for somebody else. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I remember not too long ago, you were talking about negative people or whatnot trying to send negative energy your way, and maybe that could even happen with your neighbors, or maybe their practices are a bit dark or whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. I want to talk about that last point of people sending negative energy your way. I truly believe and have learned, especially over the last year or so of my life, I didn't believe this thoroughly a while back, or understand it, but I have come to believe it, that we truly are God within us. And that's why this works, because truly what I've learned from the law of attraction, as well as other spiritual practices and sources, I keep hearing very similar stuff, that there's no such thing as a condemning God. There's nothing condemning any of us unless we allow it, um, or if we condemn ourselves. So, on that note, if you believe that you are worthy of um, feeling shame, if you believe that you're worthy of rejection, if you believe that you are worthy of persecution, um, if you believe that you're worthy of poverty, um, or anything else that you would rather not live with or that's not so pleasant, then that's what you have. The energy that we essentially write within our mind, with our voice, with the stuff we tell ourselves, is the energy that is written within our aura, and that is the energy that is being sent out like radio signals to the universe, that then is mirrored back to us. So, right before Halloween this year, um, some lady sent me a message request on Facebook. There have been so many of these wackos that I have nearly stopped accepting any friend requests. I have to be very discerning, um, and especially with people I know, I might consider them, or friends of friends I might consider. But there's this one wacko who sent me a friend request. I do like to give people a chance, and so what I do is test people who I don't know, um, and let them message me a little bit, ask them how they're doing, um, ask them what's good in their life, ask them various questions that a real authentic human would respond to and relate to. And if they don't understand, or if they don't respond to any of my questions and they just want like information from me, I block them or something. Anyway, this one conversation ended with this one lady kind of taking and twisting something I said, and then it was this longer message, but something about Satan will find me in my life and um, unleash hell in my life and stuff like that. And already by that point in my journey, I was too strong to even allow that energy in or believe it. I don't believe that there's an energy I don't believe that there's a devil. I'm uncertain about Satan as an entity, but he's not the devil. Lucifer is not the devil. Lucifer is, his name means light. I think a misunderstood angel. So yeah, I deflected that energy quite well and quickly. And if anyone does try to cast anything like that on me, it works for anybody too, any of us, because we are God incarnate in these fleshy vehicles. If anyone tries to cast anything negative into your life, spells or even negative wishes or thoughts or intentions, you have the power to say no, to deflect it, and say return to sender times 3, and that's what happens. You just send it back to them, and that's their karma that they created for themselves by even trying to cast that. And so we're almost at the top of the hour, and so I think that's important stuff I had to share, especially after this recent thinning of the veils. I think the veils are always kind of thin though, but I'm glad I could share some of my knowledge and wisdom about energy protection. It's pretty basic stuff really though when you start learning it and applying it.
Yeah, I'm glad you can come on and share those steps with us and stuff. And really glad you added don't do this while driving. Although it's common sense, a lot of people might be at a point where they're like, "Oh, I just need to release this right now." But yeah, don't clear and drive. Don't ground and drive. But thanks for coming, and I know you got to get and go do some grocery shopping with the missus. But it was awesome having you, and thank you so much for sharing this vital information. It was pretty awesome.
Thank you for having me on, Tessa. Yeah, I'm glad. I enjoyed talking about this stuff. If anyone wants to talk, I'm on a couple of meetup groups. I'm going to start a third one up pretty soon for Hypnosis and Reiki networking. I'm facilitating a group called SPAW, SPAW, which stands for Starseed Psychics, Angels, and Walk-Ins. That's on meetup.com. And so that right now, what I'm doing is a weekly telepathy practice circle at 4 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom. And so the focus is developing and then practicing telepathy, especially with a focus for communicating with star people and those of us who we share our planet with. I don't currently have anything going on my Hypnosis and Reiki networking group. I'll be sure to get that going and share that soon. Otherwise, if anyone is interested in quantum hypnotherapy, Reiki, energy portal initiations to learn and realize your true self, to embody your soul's purpose, I can be found at newbeinghypnosis.com. And this has been a pleasure, Tessa. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Troy. It was awesome to have you. And you guys be safe on your travels. Tell the missus I said hello.
I definitely will, Tessa.
All right. Good night.
Have a good night.
You as well. All right, guys. So on that note, we're going to go on our first music break. Let me go over here and make sure I turn on my stereo settings. That's where a lot of the echo comes from. I don't know why. I can turn on echo cancellation, but once I do, then that stereo won't work. So let's fix that real quick. We got Miss Michaelin Hay from Ontario, Canada. We had Mr. Griff on last night from Toronto, as our friend Dennis would say in the past. But she's going to be singing Close, as well as Collapse, Devil You Know, Nothing But Blood. And then we have Mr. Fred Johnson III from Canyon County, California, with Sugar, you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Saw you for the first time in a while. You seemed so surprised. I worked out a smile. 'Cause I've grown and I've changed. Yeah, we went separate ways. How come we're both back here? 'Cause you pushed me away, let my life rearrange, but still we're both back here. Close to me, I want you close to me. I can see that you want me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Show rushing towards fields painted greener. It doesn't see the demons behind, praying you're getting close to the line, so they can get their hands on love and trade it off for silver. The curtain's nice, but what it hides is worse than sticks and stones. Before you climb the fence tonight, look through the microscope. Better the devil you know. 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 Your nervous spine is crawling with shivers. You're standing right in the eye of a blizzard. You're inches from a shelter, so near to warmth of a home in a chandelier, shining down its light on love, wishing you'd be closer. The curtain's nice, but what it hides is worse than sticks and stones. Before you climb the fence tonight, look through the microscope. Better the devil you know. 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 Before you climb the fence tonight, look through the microscope. Better the devil you know. 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 There's too much sky, too blue, too white. The birds on the wire are singing, but I don't know why. Why aren't the roses hanging their heads? They're standing straight up, blooming instead. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Why does that guy have a smile on his face? Why is the sun even shining today? Why are the headlines talking about love? Don't they all know what happened to us? Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. nothing. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Blood in my heart. Blood in my heart.
Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. The tension's overbearing. Wondering, are you coming back home again? To inspire fondness with love. Where did our love go wrong? My sugar. Why did I make you cry? Whispers flow through my mind when I think about you. That warm feeling in me. My heart sings a sad song and just melts away. Please look into my eyes, my sugar. There's life in out there. Until the sun doesn't shine anymore, I'll be there. When time is a memory, I'll know this love. You will always be the one, my sugar. The feeling is so strong. Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Where did our love go wrong, my sugar?
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Pure Docs Media's Late Night in the Rockies. That was Miss McKaylin Hay, as well as Mr. Fred Johnson III on our music break. If you have any more questions, just hit me up at wearepuredocsmedia@gmail.com. And we also had Mr. Troy Bacon on for the first hour to share some interesting information with us. So he had to leave. He had some life matters he had to take care of. So far as going shopping with the missus, you got to have that food going on. So we're going to do story time for the second hour. I'm trying to find our bookmark here. Where the heck did it go? Where is it? Oh, there we are. Take out this earbud before it bounces out of my ear and I have to search for it all night. All right, so the book we've been reading is from Alfred Hitchcock, and it's The Monster Museum. We've been reading this for the past month. It's got 12 shuddery stories. It's been very interesting. And trying to get the glare off there. The glare off there. And so there's different writers in this book. It's not actually Alfred Hitchcock that wrote it, but he is the one that published these stories for different people. So this story is Doomsday Deferred. Before we go any further, I just want to make sure coming through on all of our outlets here. Looking good, looking good. All right, let's get down to it, shall we? This is by Mr. Will F. Jenkins. If I were sensible, I'd say that somebody else told me this story and then cast doubts on his veracity. But I saw it all. I was part of it. I have an invoice of a shipment I made from Brazil with a notation on it. Jose Ribeira's stuff. The shipment went through. The invoice, I noticed only today, has a mashed soldado ant sticking to the page. There's nothing unusual about it as a specimen. On the face of things, every element is irritatingly commonplace, but if I were sensible, I would tell it this way. It began in Milhao, where Jose Ribeira came to me. Milhao is in Brazil, but from it, the Andes can be seen against the sky at sunset. It is a town the jungle unfortunately did not finish burying when the rubber boom collapsed. It is so far up the Amazon basin that its principal contacts with the outer world are smugglers and fugitives from Peruvian justice who come across the mountains, and nobody at all goes there except for his sins. I don't know what took Jose Ribeira there. I went because one of the 3 known specimens of Morpho andiensis was captured nearby by Bowler in 1911. And a lunatic millionaire in Chicago was willing to pay for a try at a 4th for his collection. I got there after a river steamer refused to go any further. Then, after 4 days, more in a canoe with paddlers who had lived on or near river water all their lives without once taking a bath in it. When I got to Milhao, I wished myself back to the canoe. It's that sort of place. Sounds stanky. But that's where Jose Ribeira was. And in backcountry Brazil, there is a remarkable superstition that os senhores norte-americanos are honest men. I did not explain it, I simply recorded, and just as I was getting settled in a particularly noisome inn, Jose knocked on my door and came in. He was a small brown man, and he was scared all the way down deep inside. He tried to hide that. The thing I noticed first was that he was clean. He was barefoot, but his tattered duck garments were immaculate, and the rest of him had been washed, and recently. In a town like Milhao, that was startling. Senor, said Jose in a sort of apologetic desperation, you are Senor Norte-Americano? I beg your aid. I grunted. Being an American is embarrassing sometimes, and in some places. Jose closed the door behind him and fumbled inside his garments. His eyes anxious, he pulled out a small cloth bundle. He opened it with shaking fingers, and I blinked. The lamplight glittered and glinted on the most amazing mass of tiny gold nuggets I'd ever seen. I hadn't a doubt it was gold, but even at first glance I wondered how on earth it had been gathered. There was no flour gold at all, that fine powder which is the largest part of any placer yield. Most of it was gravelly particles of pinhead size. There was no nugget larger than a half pea. There must have been 5 pounds of it altogether, though, and it was a rather remarkable spectacle. Senor, said Jose tinsely, I beg that you will help me turn this into cattle. It is a matter of life and death. I hardened my expression. Of course, in thick jungle like that around Milhao, a cow or a bull would be as much out of place as an Eskimo. But that wasn't the point. I had business of my own in Milhao. If I started gold buying or cattle dealing out of amiability, my own affairs would suffer. So I said in polite regret, I'm not a businessman, senor. I don't deal in gold or cattle either. To buy cattle, you should go down to Sao Pedro. That was 4 days. To paddle downstream, or considering the current, perhaps 3, and take this gold to a banker. He will give you money for it if you can prove that it is yours. You can then buy cattle if you wish. Jose looked at me desperately. Certainly half of the population of Gojao, and positively the Peruvian refugee half, would have cut his throat for a fraction of his hoard. He almost panted, but senor, this would be enough to buy cattle in Sao Pedro and send them here, would it not? I agreed that, at a guess, it should buy all the cattle in Sao Pedro twice over and hire the town's wheezy steam launch to tow them upriver besides. Jose looked like he was sick with relief, but I said one should buy his livestock himself, so he ought to go to Sao Pedro in person. And I could not see what good cattle would be in the jungle anyhow. Yet it would buy cattle. And Jose gulping, that is what I told my friends, but I cannot go farther than Malhao, senor. I cannot go to Sao Pedro. Yet I must. I need to buy cattle for my friends. It is life and death. How can I do this, senor? Naturally, I considered that he exaggerated the emergency. I am not a businessman, I repeated. I would not be able to help you. Then, at the terrified look in his eyes, I explained, I'm here after butterflies. He couldn't understand that. He began to stammer, pleading, so I explained. There is a rich man, I said wryly, who wishes to possess a certain butterfly. I have pictures of it. I am sent to find it. I can pay 1,000 milreis for one butterfly of a certain sort, but I have no authority to do other business, such as the purchase of gold or cattle. Jose looked extraordinarily despairing. He looked numbed by the loss of hope. So merely to say or do something, I showed him a color photograph of the specimen of Morpho andiensis, which is in the Goriot collection in Paris. Bug collectors were in desperate despair about it during the war. They were sure the Nazis would manage to seize it. Then Jose's eyes lighted hopefully. Senor, he said urgently, perhaps my friends can find you such a butterfly. Will you pay for such a butterfly and cattle sent here from Sao Pedro, senor? I said rather blankly that I would, but then I was talking to myself. Jose had bolted out of my room, leaving maybe 5 pounds of gravelly gold nuggets in my hands. That was not usual. I went after him, but he disappeared, so I hid his small fortune in the bottom of my collection kit. Hello, nameless protagonist. Good evening. Okay, where did I go? Okay. A few drops of formaldehyde spilled before closing up a kit of collection bottles and insects is very effective in chasing away pilferers. I make use of it regularly. Next morning, I asked about Jose. Thanks, Nova. Love you too. She just delivered me grilled cheese and tomato soup. Yummy. He was a very low person. He did not live in Milhao, but had a clearing, a homestead some miles upstream, where he lived with his wife. They had 1 child. He was suspected of much evil. He had bought pigs and taken them to his clearing, and behold, he had no pigs there. His wife was very pretty, and a Peruvian had gone swaggering to pay court to her, and he had never come back. It is notable, as I think of it, that up to this time, no ant or any sort has come into my story. Butterflies, but no ants, especially not soldados, army ants. It is queer. I learned nothing useful about Jose, but I had come to Milhao on business, so I stated it publicly. I wished a certain butterfly, I said. I would pay 1,000 milreis for a perfect specimen. I would show a picture of what I wanted to any interested person, and I would show how to make a butterfly net and how to use it. and how to handle butterflies without injuring them. But I wanted only one kind, and it must not be squashed. The inhabitants of Milhau became happily convinced that I was insane, and that it might be profitable insanity for them. Each person leaped to the nearest butterfly and blandly brought it to me. I spent a whole day explaining to bright-eyed people that matching the picture of the morpho-andiensis required more than that number of legs and wings should be the same. But I repeated, I would pay 1,000 milreis for a butterfly exactly like the picture. I had plenty of margin for profit and loss at that. The last time a morpho-andiensis was sold, it brought $25,000 at auction. I'd a lot rather have the money myself. Okay, so did you go back to the beginning and are listening to it? We had Troy Bacon on the first hour, and that was pretty interesting. But he had to go, so we're doing story time for the rest of the evening. Jose Ribiera came back. His expression was tense beyond belief. He plucked at my arm and said, "Senor," and I grabbed him and dragged him to my inn. I hauled out his treasure. "Here," I said angrily, "this is not mine. Take it." He paid no attention. He trembled. "Senor," he said, and swallowed. My friends do not think they can catch the butterfly you seek. If you will tell them," he wrinkled his brows, "Senor, before a butterfly is born, is it a little soft nut with a worm in it?" That could pass for a description of a cocoon. Jose's friends, he was said not to have any, were close observers. I said so. Jose seemed to grasp at hope as at a straw. "My friends will find you the nut which produces the butterfly," he said urgently, "if you tell them which kind it is and what it looks like." I blinked. Just 3 specimens of morpho-andiensis had ever been captured, so far as was known. All were adult insects. Of course, nobody knew what the cocoon was like. For that matter, any naturalist can name 100 species, and in the Amazon Valley alone, of which only the adult forms have been named. But who would hunt for cocoons in jungle like that outside of Milhau? "My friend," I said skeptically, "there are thousands of different such things. I will buy 5 of each different kind you can discover, and I will pay 1 milreis apiece. But only 5 of each kind, remember." I didn't think he'd even try, of course. I meant to insist that he take back his gold nuggets, but again he was gone before I could stop him. I had an uncomfortable impression that when I made my offer, his face lighted as if he'd been given a reprieve from a death sentence. In the light of later events, I think he had. Oh, no worries, Nameless. I angrily made up my mind and took his gold back to him next day. It was a responsibility. Besides, one gets interested in a man, especially of the half-breed class, who can unfeignedly ignore 5 pounds of gold. I arranged to be paddled up to his clearing next morning. It was on the river, of course. There are no footpaths in Amazon basin jungle. The river flowing past Milhau is a broad, deep stream, perhaps 200 yards wide. Its width seems less because of the jungle walls on either side, and the jungle is daunting. It is trees and vines and lianas, as seen from the stream, but it is more than that. Smells come out, and you can identify them. Sounds come out, and you can't interpret them. You cut your way into its mass, and you can see nothing. You come out, and you have learned nothing. You cannot affect it. It ignores you. It made me feel insignificant. My paddlers would have taken me right to past Jose's clearing without seeing it. If he hadn't been on the riverbank, he'd shouted. He'd been fishing, and now that I think, there were no fish near him, but there were some picked clean fish skeletons. And I think the ground was very dark about him when we first saw him, and quite normal when we approached. I know he was sweating, but he looked terribly hopeful at the sight of me. I left my 2 paddlers to smoke and slumber in the canoe. I followed Jose into the jungle. It was like walking in a tunnel of lucent green light. Everywhere there were tree trunks and vines and leaves, but green light overlay everything. I saw a purple butterfly with crimson wing tips floating abstractly in the jungle, as if in an undersea grotto. Then the path widened, and there was Jose's dwelling. It was a perfect proof that man does not need civilization to live in comfort. Save for cotton garments, an iron pot, and a machete, there was literally nothing in the clearing or the house, which was not of and from the jungle, to be replaced merely by stretching out one's hands. To a man who lives like this, gold has no value. While he keeps his want at this level, he can have no temptations. My thoughts at the moment were almost sentimental. I beamed politely at Jose's wife. She was a pretty young girl with beautifully regular features, but disturbingly, her eyes were as panic-filled as Jose's. She spoke, but she seemed tremblingly absorbed in the contemplation of some crawling horror. The two of them seemed to live with terror. It was too odd to be quite believable, but their child, a brown-skinned 3-year-old, quite innocent of clothing, was unaffected. He stared at me wide-eyed. "Señor," said Jose in a trembling voice, "here are the things you desire, with small nuts with worms in them." His wife had woven a basket of flat green strands. He put it before me, and I looked into it tolerantly, expecting nothing. But I saw the sort of thing that simply does not happen. I saw a half bushel of cocoons. Jose had acquired them somehow in less than 24 hours. Some were miniature capsules of silk, which would yield little butterflies, of wings spread no greater than a mosquito's. Some were sturdy fat cocoons of stout brown silk. There were cocoons which cunningly mimicked the look of bird droppings, and cocoons cleverly concealed in twisted leaves. Some were green, I swear it, and would pass for buds upon some unnamed vine, and it was simply starkly impossible. I was stupefied. The Amazon basin has been collected after a fashion, but the pupa in the cocoon of any reasonable rare species is at least 20 times more rare than the adult insect, and these cocoons were fresh. They were alive. I could not believe it, but I could not doubt it. My hands shook as I turned them over. I said, "This is excellent, Jose. I will pay for all of them at the rate agreed upon, 1 milrays each. I will send them to Sao Pedro today, and the price will be spent for cattle and the bringing of cattle here, I promise it." Jose did not relax. I saw him wipe sweat off of his face. So here is a picture of a bunch of army ants, I believe he said. And then it appears that there's some people in a car right behind it, and some skeletons and skulls and such. Maybe these ants are eating all the pigs and the fish and everything else. "I beg you to command haste, senor," he said thinly. I almost did not hear. I carried that basket of cocoons back to the riverbank. I practically crooned over it all the way back to Macao. I forgot altogether about returning the gold pellets, and I began to work frenziedly at the inn. I made sure, of course, that the men who would cart the parcel would know that it contained only values objects like cocoons. Then I slipped in the parcel of Jose's gold. I wrote a letter to the one man in Sao Pedro who, if God was good, might have sense enough to attend to the affair for me. And I was almost idiotically elated. While I was making out the invoice that would carry my shipment by refrigerated air express from the nearest airport it could be got to, a large ant walked across my paper. One takes insects very casually in backcountry Brazil. I mashed him without noticing what he was. I went blissfully to start the parcel off. I had a shipment that would make history among bug collectors. It was something that simply could not be done. The fact of the impossibility hit me after the canoe with the parcel started downstream. How the devil those cocoons had got and been gathered. The problem loomed larger as I thought. In less than one day, Jose had collected a half bushel of cocoons, of at least 100 different species of moths and butterflies. It could not be done. The information to make it possible did not exist, yet it had happened. How? The question would not down. I had to find out. I bought a pig for a present and had myself ferried up to the clearing again. My paddlers pulled me upstream with languid strokes. The pig made irritated noises in the bottom of the canoe. Now I am sorry about that pig. I would apologize to its ghost if opportunity offered, but I didn't know. I landed on the narrow beach and shouted. Presently, Jose came through the tunnel of foliage, and that led to his house. He thanked me, dry-throated, for the pig. I told him I had ordered cattle sent up from Sao Pedro. I told him humorously that every ounce of meat on the hoof the town contained would soon be on the way behind a wheezing steam launch. Jose swallowed and nodded numbly. He still looked like someone who contemplated pure horror. We got the pig to the house. Jose's wife sat and rocked her child, her eyes sick with fear. I probably should have felt embarrassed in the presence of such tragedy, even if I could not guess at its cause. But instead I thought about the questions I wanted to ask. Jose sat down duly beside me. I was oblivious of the atmosphere of doom. I said blandly, "Your friends are capable naturalists, Jose. I am much pleased. Many of the little nuts they gathered are quite new to me. I would like to meet such students of the ways of nature." Jose's teeth clicked. His wife caught her breath. She looked at me with an oddly despairing irony. It puzzled me. I looked at Jose sharply, and then the hair stood up on my head. My heart tried to stop, because a large ant walked on Jose's shoulder. And I saw what kind of ant it was. "My God," I said shrilly. "Soldados! Army ants!" I acted through pure instinct. I snatched up the baby from its mother's arms and raced for the river. One does not think at such times. The soldado ant, the army ant, the driver ant, is the absolute and undisputed monarch of all jungles everywhere. He travels by millions of millions, and nothing can stand against him. He is ravening ferocity by an inexhaustible number. Even man abandons his settlements when the army ant marches in, and returns only after he has left, to find every bit of flesh devoured to the last morsel, from the earwigs in the thatch to a horse that may have been tethered too firmly to break away. The army ant on the march can and does kill anything alive, but tearing the flesh from it in tiny bites, regardless of defense. So I grabbed the child and ran. Jose Ribiera screamed at me. "No, senor, no!" Well, he sat still, and he screamed. I'd never heard such undiluted horror in any man's voice. I stopped. I don't know why. I was stunned to see Jose and his wife sitting frozen where I'd left them. I was more stunned, I think, to see the tiny clearing in the house unchanged. The army ant moves, usually on a solid front. The ground is covered with a glistening, shifting horde. The air is filled with tiny, clicking limbs and mandibles. Ants swarm up every tree and shrub. Caterpillars, worms, bird nestlings, snakes, monkeys, unable to flee, anything living becomes buried under a mass of ferociously rending small forms which tear off the living flesh in shreds until only white bones are left. But Jose sat still, his throat working convulsively. I had seen soldados on him, but there were no soldados. After a moment, Jose got to his feet and came stumbling toward me. He looked like a dead man. He could not speak. "But look!" I cried. My voice was high-pitched. "I saw soldado ants. I saw them." Jose gulped by pure effort of will. I put down the child. He ran back to his mother. See, yes, said Jose, as if his lips were very stiff and his throat without moisture. But they are special soldados. They are pets. Yes, they are tame. They are my friends. They do tricks, senor. I will show you. He held out his hand and made sucking noises with his mouth. What followed is not to be believed. An ant, a large ant, an inch or more long, walked calmly out of his sleeve and onto his outstretched hand. It perched there passively while the hand quivered like an aspen leaf. But yes, said Jose hysterically, he does tricks, senor. Observe, he will stand on his head. Now, this I saw, but I do not believe it. The ant did something so that it seemed to stand on its head. Then it turned and crawled tranquilly over his hand and wrist and up his sleeve again. There was silence, or as much silence as the jungle ever holds. My own throat went dry, and what I have said is insanity, but this is much worse. I felt something waiting to see what I would do. It was unquestionably the most horrible sensation I had ever felt. I do not know how to describe it. What I felt was not a personality, but a mind. I had a ghastly feeling that something was looking at me from thousands of pairs of eyes, that it was all around me. I shared for an instant what that something saw and thought. I was surrounded by a mind which waited to see what I would do. It would act upon my action, but it was not sophisticated. It was murderous, but innocent. It was merciless, but naive. That is what I felt. The feeling, doubtless, has a natural explanation which reduces it to nonsense, but at the moment I believed it. I acted on my belief. I am glad I did. Ah, I see, I said in apparent amazement. That is clever, Jose. It is remarkable to train an ant. How is absurd to be alarmed, but your cattle will be on the way, Jose. They should get here very soon. There will be many of them. Then I felt that the mind would not let me go, and I went. My canoe was a quarter-mile downstream when one of the paddlers lifted his blade from the water and held it there, listening. The other stopped and listened too. There was a noise in the jungle. It was mercifully far away, but it sounded like a pig. I have heard the squealing of pigs at slaughtering time, when instinct tells them of the deadly intent of men, and they try punily to fight. This was not that sort of noise. It was worse, much worse. I made a hopeless spectacle of myself in the canoe. Now, of course, I can see that, from this time on, my actions were not those of a reasoning human being. I did not think with proper scientific skepticism. It suddenly seemed to me that Norton's theory of mass consciousness among social insects was very plausible. Bees, says Norton, are not only units in an organization, they are units of an organism. The hive or the swarm is a creature, one creature, says Norton. Each insect is a body cell only, just as the corpuscles in our body stream are individuals and yet only parts of us. We can destroy a part of our body if the welfare of the whole organism requires it. Though we destroy many cells, the swarm or the hive can sacrifice its members for the hive's defense. Each bee is a mobile body cell. Its consciousness is a part of the whole intelligence, which is that of the group. The group is the actual creature, and ants, says Norton, show the fact more clearly still. The ability of the creature, which is an ant colony, to sacrifice a part of itself for the whole. He gives illustrations of what he means. His book is not accepted by naturalists generally, but there in the canoe going downriver from Jose's clearing, I believed it utterly. I believed that an army was as much a single creature as a sponge. I believed that something in Jose's jungle clearing, its body cells were soldado ants. I discovered that other creatures perceived and thought as it did. Nothing more was needed to explain anything. An army ant creature without physical linkages could know what its own members saw and knew and felt. It should need only to open its mind to perceive what other creatures saw and knew and felt. The frightening thing was that when it could interpret such unantish sensations, it could find its prey with a terrible infallibility. It could flow through the jungle in a streaming, crawling tide of billions of tiny, stridulating bodies. It could know the whereabouts and thoughts of every living thing around it. Nothing could avoid it, as nothing could withstand it. And if it came upon a man, it could know his thoughts too. It could perceive in his mind vast horizons beyond its former kin. It could know of food, animal food, in quantities never before imagined. It can intelligently try to arrange to secure that food, and it had. But if so much was true, there was something else it could do. The thought made the blood seem to kick in my veins. I began frantically to thrust away the idea. The something in Jose's clearing hadn't discovered it yet. The pure terror of the discovery had made me drenched in sweat when I got back to Milhao. All this, of course, was plainly delusion. It was at least a most unscientific attitude. But I'd stopped being scientific. I even stopped using good sense. Believing what I did, I should have got away from there, as if all hell were after me. But the something in Jose's clearing may already have been practicing its new, logical step without knowing it. Maybe that's why I stayed. Because I did stay in Milhao, I didn't leave the town again, even for Jose's clearing. I stayed about the inn, half-heartedly dealing with the gentry who tried every known device, except seeking the morpho-andiensis, to extract 1,000 milries from me. Mostly they offered mangled corpses, which would have been useless for my purpose, even if they'd been the butterfly I was after. No argument would change their idea that I was insane, nor dash their happy hope of making money out of my hallucination, that butterflies were worth money. But I was only half-hearted in these dealings at best. I waited feverishly for the cattle from Sao Pedro. I was obsessed. I couldn't sleep. By day, I fought the thought that tried to come into my head. At night, I lay in the abominable inn in a hammock, because there are no beds in backcountry Brazilian inns, and a man would be a fool to sleep in them if there were, and listen to the small, muted, unidentified noises from the jungle, and fought away the thought that kept trying to come into my mind. It was very bad. I don't remember much about the time I spent waiting. It was purest nightmare, but several centuries after the shipment of the cocoons, the launch from Sao Pedro came puffing asthmatically up the reaches of the river. I was twitching all over, by that time from the strain of not thinking about what the something might discover next. I didn't let the launch tie up to shore. I went out to meet it in a canoe, and I carried my collection kit with me, and an automatic pistol and an extra box of cartridges. I had a machete, too. It was not normal commercial equipment for consummating a business deal, but I feverishly kept my mind on what I was going to do. Something in Jose's clearing wouldn't be made suspicious by that. It was blessedly naive. The launch puffed loudly and wheezed horribly, going past Milhao between tall banks of jungle. It towed a flatboat on which there were 20 head of cattle, poor, dispirited, tick-infested creatures. I had them tethered fast. My teeth chattered as I stepped on the flatboat. If the something realized what it could do, but my hands obeyed me, and felt a dull-eyed cow through the head. I assassinated an emaciated steer. I systematically murdered every one. I was probably wild-eyed and certainly fever-thin and positively lunatic in the eyes of the Brazilian launch crew. But to them, os señores norte-americanos are notoriously mad. I was especially close to justifying their belief because of the thought that kept trying to invade my mind. It was, boldly, that if, without physical linkage, the something knew what its separate body cells saw, then without physical linkage it also controlled what they did. And if it could know what deer and monkeys saw and knew, then by the same process it could control what they did. It held within itself, in its terrifying innocence, the power to cause animals to march docilely and blindly to it and into the tiny maws of its millions of parts. As soon as it realized the perfectly inescapable fact, it could increase in number, almost without limit by this fact alone. More in the increase, its intelligence should increase too. It should grow stronger and be able to draw its prey from greater distances. The time should come when it could incorporate men into its organism by a mere act of will. They would report to it and be controlled by it. And of course, they would march to it and drive their livestock to it so it could increase still more and grow wiser and more powerful still. All right, let's stop there because we do have to go to our second story time. Where'd my bookmark go? Just put this swisher skate in there. All right. Hey, Jason, good to see you. Just in time for music break. So on this break, we have Miss McKaylin here again from Ontario, Canada, with Pins and Needles, Gravity, Mirror, and then we have Fred Johnson III from Canyon County, California, with After Dark. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it just waiting for the moment we I feel you pull me closer. You got me burning up. You got a hold on me. I feel you pull me closer. You got me burning up. Your mind, my gravity. I feel you pull me closer. You got me burning up. You got a hold on me. I feel you pull me closer. You got me burning up. Your mind, my gravity. I dove right in. Didn't bring a parachute. Fell right through. Hit the water hard. Moving too fast. Spiraling out of control. Was touch and go. Went a little far. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. Try to erase the ink that's left upon my chest. I'll attest. I don't really wanna forget to forget. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror.
My driver pulls up in my limousine, ready to take me anywhere I want to be. I say, I want to go. Take me to a college scene. I'd like to go and dance, have drinks, and hunt the perfect date. Yeah. Living at the door. I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say,
Sorry, guys. Dang it. Dang it. Therefore, I think it paid little heed to Jose, his wife, or me. Jose, I said with a deep cutting, get into the canoe with your wife and baby. We will watch our friends at their banquet. There were bellowings from the launch. I had commanded that the flatboat be beached. The Brazilians obeyed, but they were upset. I looked like a thing of horror from the butchering I had done. I put Jose and his family on the launch, and I tried to thrust out my mind to something in the jungle. I imagined a jungle tree, under mine, a little tree, I specified, to fall in the river. The men of the launch had the flatboat grounded when a slender tree trunk quivered. It toppled slowly outward, delayed in its fall by lianas that had to break. But it fell on the flatboat and the carcasses of the slaughtered cattle. The rest was automatic. Army ants swarmed out the thin tree trunk. The gory deck of the flatboat turned black with them. Cries of "Soldados!" arose in the launch. The tow line was abandoned instantly. I think Jose caused me to be hauled up into the launch, but I was responsible for all the rest. We paused at Milhao, going downstream, exactly long enough to tell that there were soldados in the jungle 3 miles upstream. I got my stuff from the inn. I paid. I hysterically brushed aside the final effort of a whiskery half-breed to sell me an unrecognizable paste of legs and wings as the morpho-andiensis. Then I fled. After the first day or so, I slept most of the time, twitching. At Sao Pedro, I feverishly got fast passage on a steamer going downstream. I wanted to get out of Brazil and nothing else, but I did take Jose and his family on board. I didn't talk to him, though. I didn't want to. I don't even know where he elected to go ashore from the steamer, or where he is now. I didn't draw a single deep breath until I had boarded a plane at Berlin and was airborne, and I was on my way home. Which was unreasonable. I had ended all the danger from something in Jose's clearing. When I slaughtered the cattle and made that shambles on the flatboat's deck, I spread the contents of a 3-pound, formerly airtight can of sodium arsenate over everything. It was wonderful stuff. No mite, fungus, mold, or beetle will attack specimens preserved by it. I'd hoped to use a fraction of a milligram to preserve the morpho-andiensis. I didn't. I poisoned the carcasses of 20 cattle with it. The army ants, which were the something, would consume those cattle to bare white bones. Not all would die of the sodium arsenate, though. Not at first, but the something was naive. And always among the army ants, as among all other members of the ant family, dead and wounded members of the organism are consumed by the sound and living. It is like the way white corpuscles remove damaged red cells from our human bloodstream. So the corpses of army ants, soldados, that died of sodium arsenate, would be consumed by those that survived. And they would die, and their corpses in turn would be consumed by others that would die. 3 pounds of sodium arsenate would kill a lot of ants. Anyhow, but in practice not 1 grain of it would go to waste, because no soldado corpse would be left for birds or beetles to feed on, so long as a single body cell of the naive something remained alive. And that is that. There are times when I think the whole thing was a fever dream because it was plainly unbelievable. If it is true, why, I saved a good part of South American civilization. Maybe I saved the human race for that matter. Somehow, though, that doesn't seem likely, but I certainly did ship a half bushel of cocoons from Milhao, and I certainly did make some money out of the deal. I didn't get a morpho-andiensis in Milhao, of course, but I made out. When those cocoons began to hatch in Chicago, there were actually 4 beautiful andiensis in the crop. I anesthetized them with loving care. They were mounted under absolutely perfect conditions. But there's an ironic sidelight on that. When there were only 3 known specimens in the collections of the whole world, the last Andiensis sold for $25,000. But with 4 new ones perfect and available, the price broke, and I got only $6,800 apiece. I'd have got as much more for one, which is the whole business, but if I were sensible, I wouldn't tell about it this way. I'd say that somebody else told me the story, then I'd cast doubts on his veracity. And that's how the whole story started. Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. I unmuted myself over on Spreaker, but not over here. This next story is Shadow, Shadow on the Wall. This is by Theodore Sturgeon. It was well after bedtime and Bobby was asleep, dreaming of a place with black butterflies that stayed and a dog with a waffly nose and blunt, friendly rubber teeth. It was a dark place and comfy with all the edges blurred and soft, and he could make them all jump if he wanted to. But then there was a sharp scythe of light that swept everything away, except for in the shaded smoothness of the blank wall beside the door. Someone always lived there. When Mommy Gwen was coming into the room with a blaze of hallway behind her, she clicked the high-up switch, the one he couldn't reach, and the room lit and came cruelly. Mommy Gwen changed from a flat, black, light-rimmed set of cardboard triangles to a nightlight, daytime sort of Mommy Gwen. Her hair was wide and her chin was narrow. Her shoulders were wide and her waist was narrow. Her hips were wide and her skirt was narrow. And under it all were her 2 hard, silky sticks of legs. Her arms hung down from the wide tips of her shoulders, straight and the elbowless when she walked. She never moved her arms when she walked. That would be so weird. She never moved them at all, unless she wanted to do something with them. "You're awake." Her voice was hard, wide, flat, pointy too. "I was asleep," said Bobby. "Don't contradict, get up." Bobby sat up and fisted his eyes. "His daddy? Your father is not in the house. He went away. He won't be back for a whole day, maybe 2. So there's no use in yelling for him." "I wasn't going to yell for him, Mommy Gwen." "Very well then, get up." Wandering, Bobby got up. His flannel sleeper pulled at his shoulders and at the soles of his snug-covered feet. He felt tousled. "Get your toys, Bobby." "What toys, Mommy Gwen?" Her voice snapped like a wet cloth on a line in a big wind. "Your toys, all of them." He went to the play box and lifted the lid. He stopped, turned, and stared at her. Arms hung straight at her sides, as straight as her 2 level eyes under the straight shelf of brow. He bent to the play box. Golly wick, Humpty Doodle, and the box came out. The starry, wormy piece of the old phonograph. The cracked sugar egg with the peephole girl in it. The cardboard kaleidoscope, and the magic set with 7 silvery rings made a trick he couldn't do, but Daddy could. He took them all out and put them on the floor. "Here," said Mommy Gwen. She moved one straight line arm to point to her feet with one straight line finger. He picked up the toys and brought them to her, 1 at a time, 2 at a time, until they were all there. Neatly, she muttered. She bent in the middle like a garage door and did brisk things with the toys, so that the scattered pile of them became a square stack. "Get the rest," she said. He looked into the play box and took out the old wood frame slate and the mixed-up box of crayons, the English annual storybook, and an old candle, and that was all for the play box. In the closet were some little boxing gloves and a tennis racket with broken strings, and an old ukulele with no strings at all. And that was all for the closet. He brought them to her, and she stacked them with the others. "Those things too," she said, and at last bent her elbow to point around. From the dresser came the 2 squirrels and a monkey that Daddy had made from pipe cleaners, a small square plate of glass he had found on Henry Street, a clockwork top that sounded like a church talking, and the broken clock Jerry had left on the porch last week. Bobby brought them all to Mommy Gwen, every one. Are you going to put me in another room? No, indeed. Mommy Gwen took up the neat stack of toys. It was tall in her arms. The top fell off and thunked on the floor, bounced, chased around in a little circle. Get it, said Mommy Gwen. Bobby picked it up and reached it toward her. She stopped until he could put it on the stack, snug between the tennis racket and the box of crayons. Mommy Gwen didn't say thank you, but went away through the door, leaving Bobby standing, staring after her. He heard her hard feet go down the hall, heard the bump as she pressed down the guest room door with her knee. There was a rattle and a click as she set his toys down on the spare bed. The one without a spread, the one with dusty blue ticking on the mattress. Then she came back again. Why aren't you in bed? She clapped her hands. They sounded dry, like sticks breaking. Startled, he popped back into bed and drew the covers up to his chin. There used to be someone who had a warm cheek and a soft word for him when he did that, but that was a long time ago. He lay with his eyes round in the light, looking at Mommy Gwen. You've been bad, she said. You broke a window in the shed, and you tracked mud into my kitchen, and you've been noisy and rude. So you'll stay right here in this room without your toys until I say you can come out. You understand me? Yes, he said. He said quickly because he remembered in time. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. She struck the switch swiftly without warning, so that the darkness dazzled him, made him blink. Right away, it was the room again, with the scythe of light and the shaded something hiding in the top corner of the wall by the door. There was always something shifting about there. She went away then, thumping the door closed, leaving the darkness and taking away the light, all but a rug-fuzzed yellow streak under the door. Bobby looked away from that, and for a moment, for just a moment, he was inside his shadow pictures where the rubber-fanged dog and the fleshy black butterfly stayed. Sometimes they stayed, but mostly they were gone as soon as he moved, or maybe they changed into something else. Anyway, he liked it there, where they all lived, and he wished he could be with them in the shadow country. Just before he fell asleep, he saw them moving and shifting in the blank wall by the door. He smiled at them and went to sleep. When he awoke, it was early. He couldn't smell the coffee from downstairs yet, even. There was a ruddy yellow sun swatch on the blank wall, a crooked square just waiting for him. He jumped out of bed and ran to it. He washed his hands in it, squatted down to the floor with his arms out. Now, he said. He locked his thumbs together and slowly flapped his hands, and there on the wall was a black butterfly flapping its wings right along with him. Hello, butterfly, said Bobby. He made it jump. He made it turn and settle to the bottom of the light patch, and fold its wings up and up until they were together. Suddenly he wiped one hand away, peeled back the sleeve of his sleeper, and presto, there was a long-necked duck. Quack-ack, said Bobby, and the duck obligingly opened its bill, threw up its head to quack. Bobby made it curl up its bill until it was an eagle. He didn't know what kind of noise an eagle made, so he said, Eagle, 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 and that sounded fine, and he laughed. When he laughed, Mommy Gwen slammed the door open and stood there in a straight-line white bathrobe and straight, flat slippers. What are you playing with? Bobby held up his empty hands. I was just... She took 2 steps into the room. Get up, she said. Her lips were pale. Bobby got up, wondering why she was so angry. I heard you laugh, she said in a hissy kind of whisper. She looked him up and down, looked at the floor around him. What were you playing with? A eagle, said Bobby. A what? Tell me the truth. Bobby waved his empty hands vaguely and looked away from her. She had such an angry face. She stepped, reached, put a hard hand around his wrist. She lifted his arm so high he went on tiptoes, and with her other hand, she felt his body, this side, that side. You're hiding something. What is it? Where is it? What were you playing with? Nothing. Really, really, truly nothing, gasped Bobby, but she shook and patted. She wasn't spanking. She never spanked. She did other things. "You're being punished," she said in her shrill, angry whisper. "Stupid, stupid, stupid. Too stupid to know you're being punished." She set him down with a thump and went through the door. "Don't let me hear you laugh again. You've been bad, and you're not being kept in this room to enjoy yourself. Now you stay here and think about how bad you are breaking windows, tracking mud, and lying." She went out and closed the door with a steadiness that was like slamming but quiet. Bobby looked out the door and wondered for a moment about the broken window. He'd been terribly sorry. It was just that the golf ball bounced so hard. Daddy had told him he should be more careful, and he had watched sorrowfully while Daddy put in a new pane. Then Daddy had given him a little piece of putty to play with, and asked him to never do it again, and he'd promised not to. And the whole time, Mommy Gwen hadn't said a thing to him about it. She just stood there, looked at him every once in a while, with her eyes and her mouth straight and thin. And she'd waited. She'd waited until Daddy went away. He went back to his sunbeam and forgot all about Mommy Gwen. After he'd made another butterfly and a dog's head and an alligator on the wall, the sunbeam got so thin that he couldn't make anything anymore except, for a while, little black finger shadows that ran up and down the strip of light like ants on a matchstick. Soon there was no sunbeam at all. So he sat on the edge of his bed and watched the vague flickering of something that lived in the end wall. It was a different kind of something. It wasn't a good something, and it wasn't bad. It just lived there. And the difference between it and the other things, the butterflies and dogs and swans and eagles who lived there, was that the something didn't need his hands to make it be alive. The something stayed. Someday he was going to make a butterfly or a dog or a horse that would stay after he moved his hands away. Meanwhile, the only one who stayed, the only one who lived all the time in the shadow country, was this something that flickered up there where the two walls met the ceiling. "I'm going right in there and play with you," Bobby told it. "You'll see." There was a red wagon with 3 wheels in the yard and a gnarly tree to be climbed. Jerry came and called for a while, but Mommy Gwen sent him away. "He's been bad," so Jerry went away. Bad, bad, bad. Funny how the things he did didn't used to be bad before Daddy married Mommy Gwen. Mommy Gwen didn't want Bobby. That was all right. Bobby didn't want Mommy Gwen either. Daddy sometimes said to grown-up people that Bobby was much better off with someone to care for him. Bobby could remember way back when he used to say that with his arm around Mommy Gwen's shoulders and his voice ringing. He could remember when Daddy said it quietly from the other side of the room with a voice like an angry "I'm sorry." And now Daddy hadn't said it at all. For a long time. Bobby sat on the edge of his bed and hummed to himself, thinking these thoughts, and he hummed to himself and didn't think of anything at all. He found a ladybug crawling up the dresser and caught it, carefully circling it with his thumb and finger so that it crawled up on his hand by itself. Sometimes when you pinched them up, they got busted. He stood on the windowsill and hunted until he found the little hole in the screen that the ladybug must have used to come in. He let the bug walk on the screen and guided it to the hole. It flew away happily. The room was flooded with warm, dull light reflected from the sparkly black shed roof, and he couldn't make any shadow country people at all, so he made them in his head until he felt sleepy. He laid down then and hummed softly to himself until he fell asleep. And through the long afternoon, the thing in the wall flickered and shifted and lived. At dusk, Mommy Gwen came back. Bobby may have heard her on the stairs anyway. When the door opened on the dim room, he was sitting up in bed, thumbing his eyes. The ceiling blazed. "What have you been doing?" "Was asleep, I guess. Is it nighttime?" "Very nearly. I suppose you're hungry." She had a covered dish. What kind of an answer is that?" she snapped. "Yes, ma'am. Hungry, Mommy Gwen," he said rapidly. "That's a little better. Here." She thrust the dish at him. He took it, removed the top plate, and put it under the bowl. "Oatmeal?" He looked at it, and then at her. Well, thank you, Mommy Gwen. He began to eat with a teaspoon he had found, hilt deep in the gray-brown mess. There was no sugar on it. I suppose you expect me to fetch you some sugar? She said after a time. No, he said truthfully, and then wondered why her face went all angry and disappointed. What have you been doing all day? Nothing. Playing? Then I was asleep. Little sluggard. Suddenly she shouted at him. What's the matter with you? Are you too stupid to be afraid? Are you too stupid to ask me to let you come downstairs? Are you too stupid to cry? Why don't you cry? He stared at her, round-eyed. You wouldn't let me come down if I asked you, he said wonderingly, so I didn't ask. He scooped up some oatmeal. Don't feel like crying, Mommy Gwen. I don't hurt. You're bad, and you're being punished, and it should hurt, she said furiously. She turned off the light with a vicious swipe of her hard, straight hand and went out, slamming the door. Bobby sat still in the dark and wished he could go into the shadow country, the way he always dreamed he could. He'd go there and play with the butterflies and the fudge-edged, blunt-toothed dogs and giraffes, and they'd stay, and he'd stay, and Mommy Gwen would never be able to get in, ever. Except that Daddy wouldn't be able to come with him, or Jerry either, and that would be a shame. He scrambled quietly out of bed and stood for a moment looking at the wall by the door. He could almost for sure see the flickering thing that lived there, even in the dark. When there was light on the wall, it flickered a shade darker than the light. At night, it flickered a shade lighter than the black. It was always there, and Bobby knew it was alive. He knew it without question, like, my name is Bobby, and Mommy Gwen doesn't want me. Quietly, he tiptoed to the other side of the room, where there was a small table lamp. He took it down and laid it carefully on the floor. He pulled the plug out and brought it down under the lower rung of the table so it led straight across the floor to the wall outlet, and plugged it in again. Now he could move the lamp quite far out into the room, almost to the middle. The lamp had a round shade that was open to the top. Lying on its side, the shade pointed its open top to the blank wall by the door. Bobby, with the sureness of long practice, moved in the darkness to his closet and got his dark red flannel bathrobe from Low Hook. He folded it once and draped it over the large lower end of the lampshade. He pushed the bottom. On the shadow country wall appeared a brilliant disk of light, crossed by just the ends of 4 wires that held the shade in place. There was a dark spot in the middle where they met. Bobby looked at it critically, then, squatting between the lamp and the wall, put out his hand. A duck, quackle-ackle, he whispered. An eagle, eagle, he said softly. An alligator, crap, crap. The alligator went as it opened and closed its long snout. He withdrew his hands and studied the round, cross-starred light in the wall. The blurred center shadow and its radiating lines looked a little like a water bug, the kind that can run on the surface of a brook. Soon dissatisfied him. It just sat there without doing anything. He put his thumb in his mouth and bit it gently until an idea came to him. Then he scrambled to the bed underneath, which he found his slippers. He put one on the floor and one in front of the lamp and propped the other toe upward against it. He regarded the wall gravely for a time and then lay flat on his stomach on the floor. Watching the shadow carefully, he put his elbows together on the carpet, twined his forearms together, and merged the shadow of his hands with the shadow of the slipper. The result enchanted him. It was something like a spider and something like a gorilla. It was a brand new something that no one had ever seen before. He writhed his fingers and held them still, and now the thing's knobby head had triangular luminous eyes and a jaw that swung gaping. It had long arms for reaching and a delicate whirl of tentacles. This picture is pretty interesting. There he is, playing make-believe in his bed. And I think that's Mommy Gwen up there, being the B-I-E-I-O. Bitch! What a hag. He moved the least little bit, and it wagged its great head and blinked at him. Watching it, he felt suddenly that the flickering thing that lived in the high corner had crept out and down toward the beast he had made, closer and closer till it whoosh! It noiselessly merged with the beast, an act as quick and complete as the mirage of raindrops on the window pane. Bobby crowed with delight. Stay, stay, he begged. Oh, stay there. I'll pet you. I'll give you good things to eat. Please stay, please. The thing glowered at him. He thought it would stay, but he didn't chance moving his hands away just yet. The door crashed open. The switch clicked. The room filled with an explosion of light. What are you doing? Bobby lay frozen, his elbows on the carpet in front of him, his forearms together, his hands twisted oddly. He put his chin on his shoulder so he could look at her standing there stiff and menacing. I was just... She swooped down on him. She snatched him off the floor and plumped him down on the bed. She kicked and scattered his slippers. She snatched up the lamp, pulling the cord out of the wall with the motion. You are not to have any toys, she said in the hissing voice. Means you are not to make any toys. For this, you'll stay in here for... What are you staring at? Bobby spread his hands and brought them together, ecstatically holding tight. His eyes sparkled and his small white teeth peeped out so that they could see what he was smiling at. He stayed, he did, said Bobby. He stayed. I don't know what you're talking about, and I will not stay here to find out, snapped Mommy Gwen. I think you're a mental case. She marched to the door, striking the high switch. The room went dark, except for that blank wall by the door. Mommy Gwen screamed. Bobby covered his eyes. Mommy Gwen screamed again, hoarsely this time. It was a sound like a dog's bark, but drawn out and out. There was a long silence. Bobby peeped through his fingers at the dimly glowing wall. He took his hands down, sat up straight, drew his knees up to his chest, and put his arms around them. Well, he said. Feet pounded up the stairs. Gwen, Gwen! Hello, Daddy. Daddy ran in, turning on the light. Where's Mommy Gwen? Boy, what happened? I heard a... Bobby pointed at the wall. She's in there, he said. Daddy couldn't have understood him, for he turned and ran out the door calling, Gwen! Gwen! Bobby sat still and watched the fading shadow on the wall, quite visible even in the blaze of the overhead light. The shadow was moving. It was a point-down triangle, thrust into another point-down triangle, which was mounted on a third, and underneath were the two hard sticks of legs. It had its arms up, with shadow fists clenched, and it pounded and pounded silently on the wall. Now I'm never going into Shadow Country, said Bobby complacently. He's there. So he never did. So we have about 41 minutes. I do have a couple of videos. I could pull one up, I suppose, or we could get into this next story and finish it up next Sunday on my birthday. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below. Would you like another story, or would you like to watch a video? I really don't like starting a story without being able to finish it, but I think we can do that unless you guys want to do something else. Is that the Desrick or the Derek? The Derek on Yondro by Manly Wade Wellman. It could be true there's a curse on that house. It's up a mountain cove not many know of, and those who do know won't talk to you about it. So if you want to go there, you'll have to find the place yourself. When you find it, you won't think at first it's any great much. Just a little house, half logs and half whipsawed planks, standing quiet and gray and dry, the open door daring you to come in. But don't you go taking such a dare, nor don't look too long at the 3 different colored flowers on the bush by the doorstone. Those flowers look back at you like faces with eyes that hold your eyes past the breaking away. Then the trees over you will be wings flapping, but not bird wings. Round about you will sound voices so softly and faint, they're like voices you recollect from some long ago time, saying things you wish you could leave forgotten. If you get past the place, look back and you'll see The path wiggle behind you like a snake after a lizard. Then's when you run like a lizard. Run your fastest and hope it's fast enough. Folks at the party clapped me such an encore. I sang that song. The lady had stopped her car when she saw my thumb out and my silver-strung guitar under my arm. Asked where I was headed. I told her nowhere special. Asked could I play the guitar. I played it as we rolled along. Asked me my name. I told her John. Then she invited me most kindly to her big country house to sing to her friends. They'd be obliged, she said. So I went there with her. There were ladies and men in costly clothes, and they liked what I played and sang. Staying off the worn-out songs, I smote out what they'd never heard before. Rebel soldier, and, well, I know that love is pretty, and when the stars begin to fall. When they clapped me and hollered me for more, I sang the Yandro song like this. I'll build me a desrick on Yandro's hill, where the wild beasts can't reach me, nor hear me sad cry. Where you've gone away, gone to stay a while, but you'll come back if you come 10,000 miles. Then they strung all around and made me more welcome than just any stranger could call for. And the hostess lady said I must stay for supper and sleep there that night. But at that moment, everybody sort of pulled back. One man came up and sat down by me. I'd been aware that when first he came in, things still down. It was like when a big bully shows himself among little boys. He was built short and broad. His clothes were cut handsome and costly. His buckskin hair was combed across his head to baffle folks he wasn't getting bald. His round pink face wasn't soft, and his big smiling teeth reminded you he had a skull under the meat. His pale eyes, like two gravel bits, made me recollect I needed a haircut and a shoe shine. You said Yandro, young man, said this fellow, almost like a charge in court, with me the prisoner. Yes, sir. The song's not too far from the Smokies. I heard it in a valley, and the highest peak over that valley's named Yandro. Now, I said, I've had scholar folks argue me that really means yonder high hill. But the peak's named Yandro, not a usual name. No, and he smiled, toothy and fierce, not a usual name. I'm like the peak. I'm named Yandro, too. How are you, Mr. Yandro, I said. I've never heard of that valley or peak, nor, I imagine, did my father, but my grandfather, yours, Yandro, came from the southern mountains. He was young with small education, but lots of energy and ambition. Mr. Yandro swelled up inside his fancy clothes. He went to New York, then Chicago. His fortunes prospered, his son, my father, and then I. We contrived to make them prosper still more. You are to be honored, I said my politest, but I judged with no sure reason that he could not be too honorable about how he made his money, or either used it. How the others pulled back from him made me reckon he scared them, and that breed of folk scares worst were their money pockets located. I've done all right, he said, not caring who heard him brag. I don't think anybody for 100 miles around here can turn a deal or make a promise without asking me first. John, I own this part of the world. Again he showed his teeth. You're the first one ever to tell me where my grandfather might have come from. Yandro's high hill, eh? How do we get there, John? I tried to recollect the way from the highway to sideway to trail, and so in and round and over. I fear I could show you better than I could tell you, I said. All right, you'll show me, he said, with no notion I could have something different to do. I can afford to make up my mind on a moment's notice like that. I'll call the airport and charter a plane, and we'll leave right now. I've asked John to stay here tonight, said the hostess lady. We leave now, said Mr. Yandro, and she hushed right up. And I saw how everybody was scared of him. Maybe they'd be pleasured if I got him out of there for a spell. Get your plane, I said. I'll go with you. He meant that thing he'd said. Not many hours had died before the hired plane set us down at the airport betwixt Asheville and Hendersonville. The taxi rode us into Hendersonville. Mr. Yandro found a used car man still at his place and bought a fare car from him. Then on my guiding, Mr. Yandro took out in the dark for that part of the mountains that I told him about. The sky stretched over us with no moon at all, only a many stars like little stitches of blazing thread in a black quilt. For sure enough light, only our headlamps, first on a paved road, winding round one slope and over another and behind a third, then a pretty good gravel road, then a pretty bad dirt road. What a stinking country, said Mr. Yandro, as he chugged along a ridge top as lean as a butcher knife. I didn't say how I resented the word about a country that stoops to none on earth for prettiness. Maybe we should ought to have waited for daytime, was all I said. I don't ever wait, he sniffed. Where's the town? There's nary a town, just the valley. 3-4 hours away, I judge. We'll be there by midnight. What's a desrick exactly, he asked. That's a word only old-timey folks use these days. It's the kind of cabin they use to make strong logs and a door you can bar, and loophole windows, so maybe you could stand off Indians. Or the wild beasts can't reach you, he quoted, and snickered. What wild beasts do you have up here in the forgotten latitudes? Can't rightly say all of them. A few bears, a wildcat or two. Used to be wolves and a bounty for killing them, and so on. Sure enough, I wasn't sure about the tales I'd heard, and didn't love to tell them if Mr. Yandro would say they were foolish for a lack of sense. The narrow road climbed a great rocky slant one way, then doubled back to climb the other way, and petered out into just a double rut with an empty, scary as heck drop thousands of feet beside the car. Finally, Mr. Yandro edged us onto a sort of notch beside the trail and cut off the power. He shook. Fear must have been a new fill to his bones. We walk from here, I said. Beyond's the valley. He grumped about that, but out he got. I took a flashlight and my guitar and let out. It was a down way from there, on a narrow trail where even a mule would be nervous, and not quite enough to be an easy trip. You don't get used to that breed of mountain night noises, not even if you're born and raised there and live and die there. Noises too soft and sneaky to be real whispering voices. Noises like big, slow wings, far off and then near. And above and below the trail, noises like heavy, soft paws keeping pace with you. Sometimes 2 paws, sometimes 4, sometimes many. They stay with you, such noises as that. All the hours you grope the night trail, all the way down to the valley, so low, till you're ready to bless God for the little bitty crumb of light that means a human home, and you ache and pray to get to that house, be it ever so humble, so you can be safe inside the light. It's wondered me since if Mr. Yandro constant chatter was a string of curses or maybe the first time in his proud life, a string of prayers. The light we saw was a pine knot fire inside a little cabin above the stream that giggled along the valley bottom. The door was open and somebody sat on the stoop. Is that a desrick? Panted and puffed Mr. Yandro. No, sir, it's a newer maid. Yonder's Miss Tully at the door, sitting up to think. Miss Tully recollected me and welcomed us. She was 80 or 90, without area tooth in her mouth to clamp her stone bowl pipe, but she stood straight as a pine on a split slab floor, and the firelight showed no gray to her hair neatly combed black. Rest your hats, she bade us. So this here stranger man is named Yandro. Funny, sir, you comin' just now. You looking for a desrick on Yandro? It's right where it's been, and she pointed with her pipe stem off across the valley and up the far side. She gave us 2 chairs bottomed with juniper bark by the fire, and sat on a stool next to the shelf with herbs and pots and 1-2 old paper books. The long-lost friend and Egyptian secrets and Big Albert. The one they tell you can't be flung away or given away or burnt, only to be got rid of by burying with a funeral prayer like a human corpse. Funny, she said again, not laughing. You coming along just as the 75 years run out. I was just a pigtail girl back then, when George Yandro courted Polly Wilts, the witch girl. Mr. Yandro, you favor your grandsire right much. He wasn't nowhere as stout-built as you, and younger by years when last I saw him, though. Though I'd heard it all before, I harked at it. It was like a mini such tale at the start. Polly Wilts was sure enough a witch, not just a steady witch like Miss Tully. And Polly Wilts' beauty would melt the heart of nature and make a dumb man cry out, "Praise God who made her!" But none dared court her, save only Joris Yandro, who was handsome for a man as she was lovely for a woman. For it was his wish to get her to show him the gold on top of the mountain, named for his folks, that only Polly Wilts and her witchings could find. "Sure enough, there's gold in these mountains," I answered Mr. Yandro's interrupting question. "The history books tell that before ever the California rush, folks mined and minted gold in these here parts." "Gold," he repeated me, both respectfully and greedy. I was right to come. Miss Tully told that Joris Yandro coaxed Polly Wilts to fetch down gold to him, and then he carried it off and never came back. And Polly Wilts pined and mourned like a sick bird, and on Yandro's top she built her desrick. He sang the song, the one I'd sung, that was part of a long charm spell. 3/4 of a century would pass, 75 years, and her love would come back. "But he didn't," said Mr. Yandro. "My grandfather died up north." "He sent his grandboy, who favors him." Miss Tully thumbed tobacco into her pipe. "All the Yandros moved out, purely scared of Polly Wilts singing. The song fetched you back here, just at the right time. You were maybe. She's waiting." "Under Desrick, where the wild beasts can't reach her," Mr. Yandro quoted and laughed. "John says they have bears and wildcats up here." He expected her to say I was wrong. "Other things, too. Scarce-it-out animals like the taller." "The taller?" he said. "The hugest flying thing there is, I reckon," said Mrs. Tully. "It tolls its voice like a bell to tell other creatures their feet has come near, and there's the flat. It lies level with the ground and not much higher, and it can rock you like a blanket." She lighted the pipe with a splinter from the fire. "And the Bamut? Big the Bamut is." "You mean the behemoth?" he suggested. "No, the behemoth was in Bible times. The Bamut's hairy like, with big ears and a long wiggly snaky nose and twisty white teeth sticking out its mouth." "Oh," and Mr. Yandro trumpeted his laugh. "You've heard some story about the mammoth. Why, it's been extinct for thousands of years." "Not for such a long time, I hear tell," she puffed. "Anyway," he argued on, "the mammoth, the Bamut as you call it, was the elephant family. Could it get up in these mountains?" "Maybe folks hunted it up here," said Miss Tully, "and maybe it stays here so folks will reckon it's dead and gone these thousands of years. Then there's the behinder." "And what?" inquired Mr. Yandro. "What might the behinder look like?" "Hey, Robert." "Well, wait, there's the Yandro." "Can't rightly say, for it's always behind the one that's a-fixin' to grab. And there's the skim, it cuts through the air, and the culverin that can shoot pebbles with its mouth." "And you believe all that?" sneered Mr. Yandro, the way he always sneered at everything everywhere. "Why else do I tell it? Well, sir, you're back where your king used to live in the valley where the mountains was named for them. I can let you in sleep here on my front stoop this night." "I came to climb the mountain and see the desert," said Mr. Yandro, with an anxious hurry to him. Kept wondering on. "You can't climb there till it's light," she said. And she made us up 2 quilt pallets on the stoop. I was tired, glad to stretch out, but Mr. Yandro fussed as if it was wasting time. At sunup, Miss Tully fried us some side meat and some slices of cold set hominy grits, and fixed us a snack to carry and a gourd for water. Mr. Yandro held out a $10 bill. "No, I thank you," said Miss Tully. "I bade you stay. I don't take money for such as that." "Well, everybody takes money from me," he snickered, and flung it on the door sill at her feet. "Go on, it's yours." Grabbed a big stick of stove wood. "Stoop down and take that money bill back, Mr. Yandro," she said. He did as she said to do. She pointed the stick out across the stream and the thickets below, up the height beyond. She acted as if there'd been no trouble a second before. "That's Yandro Mountain," she said, "and up at the top, where it looks like a crown of a hat, thick with trees all the way up, stands the desert built by Polly Wilts. Look close with the sun rising, and you can maybe make it out." Well, I think we'll stop there. Yep. We're about done with this book. We'll have to get back to Miss Polly Wilson, Mr. Yandro, and all those affectionate people. Anyways, it was awesome having Mr. Troy Bacon on for the first hour, and then story time with you guys for the second hour. Oh wow, this one says 1 minute 45 seconds. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Next weekend we have the Paranormal Forum, and then after that, it's my birthday on Sunday, so I think we're gonna do story time, maybe watch cute creepy videos or whatnot. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Where the day will take us. Anywho's, thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, KP9 Radio, Twitter, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, eTalk Radio, and wherever else you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. Had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again this next weekend. As I said, Paranormal Forum, and then story time on my birthday. Don't forget, you guys, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Until next time, nighty night, love and light to all my yous. You guys be sure to take care of each other. Don't work too hard this week. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving to all the American families and whoever else may be celebrating Thanksgiving this week. And I will see you back here, same time, same crazy place. Stay safe, be cool, take care.
All right, man. Go ahead, let me know.